Welcome to Mindsets. Here's a place where you'll get an opportunity to consider where your headspace is at when it comes to connecting with new people, and I'll offer some tips and tricks on how you can modify your mindset to get you perfectly primed to invite new people into your life. The two mindsets that we're going to cover today are something that I call the Meditator Mindset, as well as the Child's Mindset. To begin with the Meditator's Mindset, you might be wondering, well, why? Why do I want to have a meditator's mindset when it comes to connecting with new people? And the answer is, mindfulness, or a sense of being grounded, can be profoundly helpful in learning to do anything new that you're learning how to do. And when it comes to meeting new people, the act of being present is fundamental to making those connections possible. So what are some of the obstacles to being present? Why can't I be present? Well, there's a lot of reasons why people can't be present. Today's super digital connected world, we're bombarded with quite a few distractions. Our work is remote, we're working in our own homes often, and there's notifications pinging up all over the place, and it can be really, really hard. There might be kids running around. It can be really, really hard to get your focus. But there's a great deal of evidence to suggest that if you can just learn how to bring more mindfulness into your life, you can be more productive, and you can be better at pretty much any skill you want to learn, including connecting with new people. One thing I learned from a mindfulness expert here in Canada was that there are two primary types of mindfulness. There's formal mindfulness, which is things like meditation or perhaps yoga practices. And then there's informal mindfulness. And the informal can be a number of different things. So in my case, examples of an informal mindfulness practice include going for a hike in the mountains, or cycling, or juggling as I do some performance work. These are all things that get me into a relaxed state of mindfulness, and they enable me to be more connected to myself, which allows me to more easily connect to others. So, what kind of informal mindfulness practices do you think you might already have in your life, if formal mindfulness is not a part of your day-to-day at the moment? Take a moment and jot down 3 or 4 things that you do that make you feel like you're in that place of relaxed focus, and see what you come up with. Did you find a few things? Have you noticed already that you've got a bit of an informal mindfulness practice in your life? In case that was difficult for you, don't worry. We're still going to get you to be a little bit more mindful here. I've got 3 tips on how to become more mindful that you can try today. The first one is to turn off or reduce your digital distractions. And you can treat it like a bit of an experiment to just turn it on silent or in airplane mode, or even better, get it out of the room altogether when you're trying to have some focused work or when you're trying to connect with another person. Research has proven that having the device out of sight is actually the best thing you can do. So you might want to give that a try. The second tip I'd like to offer is that you take a breath. Breathing techniques are a part of almost every mindfulness practice there is today, from meditation to yoga and well beyond. And you can use breathing, which you're already doing anyhow, to your advantage to become more comfortable with the idea and eventually with the practice of connecting with new people. And the reason it works so well is that just taking a deep breath, whenever you're feeling just a little tiny bit agitated or anxious, grounds you. And for a little extra impact, you can put a hand on your heart, on your chest. Take that breath in. I invite you to do it with me now. Hand on the heart. Feels good, right? Now you don't need to wait until a course tells you to do that. You can take that breath absolutely anytime you like. And that leads in really nicely to the third tip I'd like to offer, which is something I call the 1 second break. And the 1 second break is also a bit of a breathing technique where at any point in a learning experience or at any point in your day, if you're feeling a bit frazzled or if you're feeling a bit anxious, you can stop yourself and just kind of squeeze your fists together and sort of shake it out, just take that breath and just take that 1 second break. Now I lied, it took more like 2 or 3 seconds. But the important thing is when you recognize moments of, light moments of anxiety or perhaps insecurity, or when the internal chatter saying you can't do this or that is flaring up, taking that 1 second break, taking a breath can have a huge impact on your physiology, and it can allow you to get prepared to move forward productively once again. So implementing those tools should help you become a little bit more present and help you become more comfortable with this whole idea of connecting with new people. And that leads us into the child's mindset, which is all about being curious and being spontaneous. Now, why would you want to be curious? You might be thinking, it's like, well, I'm not a child. I don't need to be curious to meet people. And I would argue that curiosity is an incredibly helpful tool at your disposal, should you choose to use it, when it comes to connecting with new people. By literally looking up from your smartphone or your device and seeing what's going on in the world around you and noticing the people around you, you have these opportunities to allow your mind to think, kind of allow your mind to explore your surroundings. And in doing that, questions are going to start to pop into your mind. We'll speak a little bit more about questions in the next section, but when questions pop into your mind, even though you might not be prepared yet to voice those questions, those are really, really helpful cues that can eventually get you into a conversation with someone. So I'd argue that curiosity is really, really important. So take a moment now to think about what you're curious about in your surroundings. I invite you to pause the video from time to time throughout this program and just engage in the exercises in that way. If you stop in just a moment, just look around the surroundings you're in now and jot down 5 or 10 things really quickly that you're curious about. Take a second and do that now. Could you come up with a few things? Did you get a big list? Do you feel a little slightly, that you've got a slightly heightened sense of curiosity now? I hope so. Well, what's another part of the child's mindset is it's about being spontaneous. And of course, if you've seen children play or if you have children, you know that they're very spontaneous and they're very, very curious as well. And that spontaneity can be a really, really good lesson for us as adults when it comes to connecting with new people. By being spontaneous, you don't edit yourself. You don't allow the internal chatter that you may have experienced already stop you from speaking up and using your voice when you want to. You might have had something really excellent to contribute to that conversation, but you worried that you were going to get rejected or kicked out of the room or kicked out of the conversation. But when you act spontaneously, you use your voice and you make the contribution and you create those opportunities to connect.